Okay, so if everyone turns to page number 5 in the prayer book. In the bottom it says the essence of the dependent origination mantra. So we're going to just chant this mantra. So before we chant, we say the meaning in English once, and then we will start chanting. I'm sorry, okay, so we'll just do the prayers from the beginning. So page number 3, the preliminary prayers. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is field of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all leads hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, who through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the possession of omniscience helps her viewers expound the variety of teachings. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you, the Buddha, I make prostrations. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye choda soki chonam la, chacho bhadu dhame kyapsochi, bhage jinso dipe soknam ki, droha penche sangye druparaisho. Sangye choda soki chonam la, chacho bhadu dhame kyapsochi, bhage jinso dipe soknam ki, droha penche sangye druparaisho. Sangye choda soki chonam la, chandru pardu dhame kyapsochi, dhage jinso dipe sonam ki, drola perche sangye druparaisho. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavadat tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham tathagato yavadat tesham chayo nirodha evam vadi mahashamanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavadat tesham chayo nirodha
evam vati mahashramanaye swaha.
All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times, I pay obeisance. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of all. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, please liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of aeons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by reaching the truth of suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Please turn to page 14, Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain,
Him that pleases in the 3 worlds, winner of best Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme sign, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Just free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to moral precepts, to you the Sangha I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the strength of all seeing, subdue the four of force, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Please turn to page 31. We will chant together the Heart Sutra mantra 7 times. It's in the center of the page. Atha Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swaha Atha Gati Gati Paragati Parasangate Bodhi Swaha Tayatha Om Gate Gate Paragate 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 Parasangate Bodhi Swaha. Now, page number 32, 8 verses of mind training. So, in the 8 verses of mind training, we are always told to be careful to distinguish between the self-referential ego and one's self-confidence. So, what is being undermined in this prayer is the self-referential ego and not the self-confidence. Let me start. With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all sentient beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character, oppressed by strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear for their rare to find, as if I have discovered a jeweled treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander, and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard them still as a precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly, and may I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May all this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusions, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. From my 2 collections vast as space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom is blinded by ignorance.
Okay. Last time we were on page 37, stanza 307. Okay. What we are studying from this text is a little technical. One, it should have some flow, and still it doesn't matter. We will just see. So what is being done here is to reject things existing as truly. Page 37, stanza 307. Okay, reject things to be truly existent, meaning that that out of the two states, one is the dream and one coming out of the dream. Of the two, we should come out of the dream in order to be freed from the nightmares of the dream. For that matter, coming out of the dream means that we realize that whatever happened in the dream, it was all just coming from your mind, not really from the object. So for that matter, everything that exists in this universe, we should be able to see that everything is coming from our mind. And keep in mind that that things existing from our mind, there are so many ways of understanding it. And what we are talking about here is in a very subtle context. For example, say what is given here, 307. It is how so the idea is, say for example, say we speak about your friends, your parents, your relatives, and so forth. So associated with these people, then you can have anger, attachment, aversion, jealousy. All these things can happen. So this again, the emotional stirs happen because of seeing the object as so objectively real, not like a dream. So now here, what is being said is that everything is like a dream. So just see if it makes sense to us. To make it very quick, say we have to realize that each one of us, we are nothing, but we are made of, say, the cells. First, we are made of the organs, the tissues, organs, and so forth. And these organs are also made of the cells, and the cells are made of the molecules, and the molecules are made of atoms, and the atoms are made of electrons, protons, neutrons, and so forth. So in essence, in short, we see that each one of us, we are like millions of atoms. Can you imagine that? Okay, let us quickly just imagine ourselves in the light of, so first, let us go slowly. So first we go in the form of the organs, for example, the thin skin, and behind this is the fatty tissues, then behind that is the muscles, cartilages, then the heart, the lungs, the gallbladder, then the kidney, the spleen, the stomach, and then the bones, the skeleton, and then the blood pumped in out by the heart to the different parts of the body, then the space. So we see that of the solid thing that we have, we are all made of these, say, the tissues and the organs. And these tissues and organs are also made of millions of cells. And the cells have the cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm. And each of these cell membranes, nucleus, cytoplasm, they're also made of molecules. And molecules are made of atoms. Okay, we can go beyond that, but for the time being, just stay there. Now, where is this person? None of these atoms electrons, protons, neutrons. None of these is this person. Where's this person? This person disappears. It doesn't mean that the person doesn't exist. When too close to the object, the person disappears. But coming out of this meditation, again the person comes back, which means that the person exists only on that level. Only on that level when you look at the person from distance. Going closer to the object, the person disappears. Keeping a distance and then looking at the same object from distance, you see the person. So this distance, going away from the object, this is known as going towards the subject. Subject is the mind. So it is only through your mind that these things exist. Otherwise, going towards the object, the person disappears. At times, it will be helpful if you can think of the self and others in this light, in the light of the atoms, and ask yourself the question, where is this person? It could be quite scary sometimes. Okay, so this is known as from the object side, the person does not exist. From distance, from the subject, the person appears. Like a movie. The movie that we're watching, closer you go to the screen, from the screen, the movie is not existent. The movie exists, all projected from the movie projector is behind you. So likewise, everything that appears as so solid from the object side, they're all deceptive. They're all, in actuality, they're coming from your mind, which is like the movie projector. If you realize this, then your emotional states of anger, hatred, jealousy, attachment, craving, greed, fear, anxiety, they'll all disappear. They'll all tone down, if not disappear altogether at this moment, but for sure they will be toned down, and you see that you are less disturbed by these mental emotions. Okay, so now this stanza which we are reading, stanza 307 down, it is explaining to us as to how things are like dream. Things are all coming from a subject, from the mind. Say the pot, the vase is given an example, and then once you learn how to apply this to the pot, we should be able to extend it to the self, to the people around, to the objects which stir the negative emotions, which stir unhappiness, which stir, say, which create depression, fear within us. Okay, so 307. Say the pot, for example. Pot, they say the pot is not coming from our mind. It exists so solidly there. We can see so solidly there. For example, this pot here, it exists so solidly there from the object. How? Because its characteristics like the shape, color, and so forth, they're not our mind creating it. It's really there. And oftentimes people say that it is not really coming from our mind, it's really there, because if 10 people look at it, they will all see the same thing. If it's coming from our mind, then we should be seeing different things there, but on the contrary, we see the same thing. So this is how people, they present it like this. So it says 307. If shape is distinct from color, how is shape apprehended? Okay, same. So some of these people, they say that the pot, it exists objectively, not like a dream. It exists objectively because that it has the shape, color, these characteristics. These characteristics are so real. So it is on this basis that if the characteristics are real, then what is characterized? The one which the characterized, which has the characteristics, that should also exist truly. Okay, it's a little technical. If shape is distinct from color, so which means that this pot has a shape, has a color. And these two things, are these two one or different? If it is purely objective, then our mind should have no power or should have no role to play in the existence of this, the shape, color, and so forth. In which case, whatever is there, it should be from the object. If it's from the object, then just as the red flower and the white flower, these two are unrelated. the shape and the color of the pot should be unrelated from the object. If these two are unrelated, if shape is distinct from the color, how is shape apprehended? Same, when you look at the pot, we see the color. On this basis, we see there's a pot there. And when you look at the pot, we see the shape there. On the basis, we see that, oh, there's a pot there. So it says, if shape is distinct from color, how is shape apprehended? Then what within your mind perceives the shape? If the shape and color is totally distinct. For example, when I look at the prayer flags here, I'm not seeing India Gate. Because India Gate and the prayer flags, these two distinct entities. Whereas I look at the pot here, I see the shape as well as the color. Whereas if these two distinct entities, two distinct, the objects like the prayer flag and the India Gate, then when I see the color, how can I see the shape? If not distinct, why would the body not also apprehend color? If you say that no, these two are not distinct, you can see the two things. Then say in dark, you touch at it. Oh, there's a pot here. A pot here. So with the body, sensing the texture, you see that there is a pot there. So there, if not distinct, if the shape and the color, if these two are not distinct, then what sees the shape should be also seeing the color. Then in the night, oh, this is a pot, I could see from the shape. From the texture, you can figure out the shape, and then you should be also seeing the color. If not distinct, why would the body not also apprehend color? 308. Only the form is visible, but the form's causes are not seen. Let's say, now in the daytime, I'm seeing the pot, and this pot is made of the four elements. What are the four elements? And earth, water, fire, air. Right? Earth, water, fire, air. The four elements. But the form's causes. Causes here doesn't mean the preceding causes. It means the factors which compose the pot. But the forms meaning the pot as the form is causes referring to this four elements. Four elements are not seen. Do you see, when you look at the pot, do you see the element earth, water, fire, air, the four elements? Do you see the four elements? We don't see the four elements. You know, we just see the gross one. Elements are very subtle. We don't see the elements, but the forms, causes are not seen. Now, elements, or let's say for us, it's easier to speak about the atoms. It's the same thing. Atoms versus atoms as the parts and the pot as the whole. Likewise, same, this pot, we can see the solidity there. This is the element of earth. And then what is inside? The atoms, they're not split apart. They are together. So that is made by the liquid. Liquid holds things together. And then that, of course, scientifically speaking, the atoms, they're in constant movement. It's because of the heat. When the heat is lesser, then the movement slows down. Okay. Then between the atoms, there's the flow of the air. Right? So these are the four elements explained by the classical Indian philosophers and also by the Western philosophers. They speak about how, for us, it's quite easy. For us, it's easy. We have the tangible body, this is element earth. Then the blood which is pumped out by the heart, the different parts of the body, this is element water. Then we breathe in and out the air, element air, and the body heat is there, this is element of fire. So these four elements are there. And for the external things, the difference between external things and our body is that with this body is blended with the mind. Consciousness is involved there. So whereas this one, there's no consciousness involved. Otherwise, the four elements, the basic four elements is the same. Okay, now it says that if the thought exists, not like a dream, not coming from our mind, right? Okay, by the way, this is very important. Although it's very simple, it can be very helpful. Okay, let's say that, can you imagine, one example which is oftentimes given is that, can you imagine that, say, you're going into the forest. Do you see the forest or you see the individual trees? You see the individual trees. And when do you see the forest? Only when you are at a distance. From distance you see the forest. Go into the forest, you see the individual trees and the forest disappears. Likewise, say, when you look at the other person sitting next to you, okay, look at the other person sitting next to you. Okay, when you look at the other person, you see the other person with a particular shape and particular, let's see, the expression, whatever. But if you see the same person without altering the person, just see the same person on the atomic level. On the atomic level, we see that the perception of the person disappears. You agree with me? Just the millions of atoms, the pool of atoms there. Okay, so now tell me, where's the person? It's just the millions of atoms. Where's the person? Likewise, the pot. Where's the pot? It's just atoms. If you go to this atomic level, it's just atoms. Where's the pot? Okay, anyone? Where's the pot? Right? It's just millions of atoms. Where's the pot? Anyone? A pot is in the mind. Okay. So, your name? Titya. Okay, pot is in the mind. Well, is from the mind or is in the mind? Okay, what you are saying is quite correct. Yeah. Somewhere, whether it's in the mind or whether it's from the mind, somewhere is to do with the mind. Right? Okay. But when we look at the pot, do you see it as mind or is so solidly there? We see this as so solidly there. But this is challenged by this question. When you look at the same object on the atomic level, the pot disappears. So where is the spirit? And if you really get there, that the pot disappears, right? Say in most cases, you will have a goosebump on your body. You could feel a tinge of fear coming in you. There's a pot. Likewise, not only the pot is fine, even if the pot breaks, you don't mind. But your mother, father, brother, sisters, people to whom you feel so attached to, right? So when you see the same person in the light of atoms with the person disappears. Right? Then the fear really comes. At one point, I was doing this analysis with my teacher. And suddenly my teacher disappears, right? In this experience, just atoms left. And then it was such a very scary feeling. Very scary feeling. Because my feeling of closeness to my teacher was very intense. And then suddenly he disappears. It was a very scary feeling. So if these things happen, except when it goes to such an extent that the fear is so overwhelming. Otherwise, a little bit of fear here and there is a very good indication. It's a very auspicious indication that you are getting closer towards the gaining control over your emotions. Okay. So now the point is, as opposed to what is your name again? Titya. as opposed to what Titiya said, if it is not from the mind, then the pot should from where? It exists from where? If it's not from the mind, then it should exist from where? It exists. The pot exists. But if it does not exist related to the mind, then it should exist purely from the object. If it is purely from the object, you go closer to the object, you see the atoms, right? Okay, so the point is 308. Only the form is visible, but the form's causes are not seen. What is really there from the object, what is really there when going towards the object, is we see the atoms. Atoms which constitute which are the cause. Cause in Tibetan is gyu. Cause in Tibetan is gyu, and gyu has two connotations. One is the cause which precedes the result. This is one understanding of gyu. Cause which precedes the result. Cause which gives rise to the result and which precedes the result. Whereas the second connotation of the cause of the gyu is the building blocks or the constituencies of an object. Constituencies of the object. It is like a cause. For example, because of these constituencies, then the object comes into being. Because of the cause, the result comes into being. So the second constitution is the constituencies. Okay, so here the cause. Cause here refers to the constituencies, not the one gives rise to the next moment result. Okay, only the form is visible, but the form's causes are not seen. What is there on the object? The pot is there, the form, the pot is there. All the elements, the four elements, which constitute the constituencies of the pot exists. What exists there? The pot or the four constituents? Both are there. Both are there. But if they don't exist by the power of the mind, again, Titiya. Okay, as opposed to what Titiya said, if the pot is nothing from the mind, it's all from the object, then what exists? The pot is there from the object, or the four elements are there from the object? This question. If you say both, they occupy the same space, they occupy different space. If they occupy the same space, then it should be the same object, right? They cannot be different. If they're not different, then why the pot is visible and the four elements are not visible? If these two are not different, right? Okay, so it says only the form is visible, but the form's causes meaning the constituencies, are not seen. If indeed it is thus, why are both not also perceived by just the eyes? And if you say that no, these two are just one, then just as your eyes could see the pot, why don't your eyes also see the four elements? If indeed it is thus, why are both not also perceived by just the eyes? Okay. 309. Earth is seen as firm and stable and is apprehended by the body. Only that which is tangible is referred to as earth. Okay. Now, now let's say the four elements. What are the four elements? Earth, water, fire, air. Okay, let's say that the four elements are physical things or mental. Physical. Yeah, physical. Physical means physical should be objects of the five sensory objects. Five sensory objects, right? Okay, the four elements, earth, water, fire, air, Are they the objects of the visual? What? Auditory, olfactory, gustatory, tactility. Say these four are the objects of what? Which of the five senses? Is the object of which of the five senses? Let's say the earth, animal earth. Animal earth is the object of visual and touch. Animal earth. Okay, animal earth. Okay, by the way, this is something which we have not masters, so we did not discuss. Well, animal earth. This is the object of which sense object? Ramala, any idea? Touch. Okay. In fact, the five sensory, your eyes, can it smell?
No.
Right? Ears, can it differentiate the colors? The nose, can it hear the sound of the traffic? No. So these five, they have the unique, distinct objects. They don't overlap. Keep this in mind. These five senses, they are so unique, right? With the hand, don't expect to feel the music. With the hand, don't expect to taste the food. Taste the food with the hands. Okay, it's very delicious food. With the eyes, don't expect to hear music. There are different senses for different objects. You're getting it? Okay, the element of earth is the object of which sense? Huh? Body. What made you say the body wine? Say the pot. Is it not the element of earth? The pot. It has. It is not. Okay. So what is the element of earth then? Huh?
The solidity.
The solidity. The solidity. The solidity. Element of earth also. Element of earth has a few things. For example, say the weight. Yes. Okay, you've already studied that, right? From very quick in Buddha, collected topics. Okay, so the element of earth is more with the touch, the body, right? Body. What about what is the second element? Huh?
When we smell, right, there are these particles which go in the nostril. That's how we smell. These particles have the earth element for sure.
Yes.
Right? So when we taste, again, there is the solidity, the earth element is there. So it's not exclusively to the touch consciousness, the earth element.
So
Visually,
this I has the mind, right? It is not mind, it has mind. But you can see me, you cannot see my mind, right? So simply because it has, does not mean that it is. Likewise, say the food that I say the smell, the particles hit the nose organs, right? And within that, there is the taste. All are there. But what is experienced by the nose sense power is exclusively the smell, right? The smell. Although the particles hit there, but it cannot pick up sense the particles which are related to the taste, which are related to the sound. It cannot sense it. The nose sense power. It only picks up the smell. That's it, right? For example, say this material, this tissue, it picks up, right? It does not pick up any color. It reflects all the color, right? Whereas this flower, it reflects only the red color. it absorbs the rest of the color, right? So it has the ability to absorb the rest of color except for the red. So red is reflected. Likewise, while within the color, all 7 colors are there, but it absorbs, separates the red from the rest and absorbs the rest and reflect the red. Likewise, each of these sense organs, they sense only that object which it is related to. Otherwise, they don't do it. Okay. Now this is with the element of earth, element of water. What is element of water? The element of water is sensed by which object? Which sense? Okay, this is also touch. Also touch. Then element of fire, touch. Element of air also touch. All 4 are touch. Nothing to do with eyes. Right? So therefore this part, which are eyes, which is visible to eyes, is all actually constituted of which are non-visual objects. Is only constituted of the visible objects, the tactility, earth, water, fire, air, right? So what it says here is that earth is seen as firm and stable. All these the earth, water, fire, air. So they are, with the earth, for example, earth is seen as firm and stable, which is to be sensed only by the touch, not by the eyes, and is apprehended by the body, touch by the body, not by the eyes. Only that which is tangible is referred to as earth. So, which is tangible, which is to be sensed by the body, is known as earth. So therefore, what we see as a pot, right? This is what our eyes could see, and what our eyes could see, and what they touch, our body could sense. These two should be two opposite things. Cannot be, these two cannot overlap. So therefore, if the pot exists truly there, what is really there, if something is there, it is none other than the 6 elements, and 6 elements are all to be sensed by the touch. Body, 4 elements, all to be sensed by the touch, not by the eyes. But what you are seeing as a pot is visible to, is sensed through by your eyes. So this is contradictory, right? So what is really there? You see the pot as objectively real, and that is not really true. Okay. 310. Okay, 310 is very interesting. 310. Now what they say is, okay, now tell me. So where is the pot then? Where is the pot then? Huh? Where is the pot then? Then if it is just the element, earth, fire, water, air, which are all the objects of the body sense, right? The body sense, then where's the pot? Pot is visual, it's not the object of the body sense. Where's the pot? Right? So there, if you think, so the clue that we can get is, one, the pot, how does it appear to you? Like like a movie that you're watching now. Imagine that you're watching a movie here on the screen, and the movie is coming from where? Sanjayji, in your school days, you've been a good boy or found in the movies all the time? Sometimes in the movie theaters. Okay, so where's the movie coming from? By the projector, movie projector, right? Movie projector is where? It's behind you, yes. Right? Okay, let's say our mind is like the movie projector, and the pot is like the movie being watched, right? Then going closer to the screen, you see that it is actually, the screen is just a flat thing. There's nothing really there which projects the movie there. So going closer to the pot, Towards the object, we say it's just the four elements. Finish. And in what we understand, how we understand physics, we say that it's just made of millions of atoms. And within the atoms, none of the atoms is that part. And then you see the collection of the atoms, still you don't see the part. So where's the part then? This question. So then when do you say that there's a part? When you go into the atoms or when you come out of the atoms? When you come out of the atoms, then will you say that there's a part? But then where do you see the part? You see the part where the atoms exist? Or you see the part coming from your mind, projecting, like your mind is moving, projecting and projecting. How do you see the part? Is where the atoms exist. Where the atoms exist means it's nothing from the mind. It's from the object. From the object, this is how we see. Which means it is objectively is seen as objectively real. And we believe that the part exists that way. We believe. And then say everyone. Only and only if you explore how the part exists. Otherwise, all those people who are not engaged in such analysis will no doubt, you don't have to go to ask, no doubt everybody views the part to exist objectively. Everyone. And then on worse than that, some people, they engage into the philosophical discussions and they reinforce the belief that the part exists objectively real. So two things happen now. One is the intrinsic or innate belief that the part exists truly, and your philosophy studies reinforces the part to be existing objectively, the self-existing objectively, things existing objectively. So this is what is happening. So with this, you are reinforcing the dream as real. Right? In the first place, in the dream, when you don't explore that whether it's dream, not dream, you already believe that it's real. And within the dream, again somebody comes and you explore whether it's a dream, not dream. Somebody, hey, what a stupid thing that you're doing. It's not a dream. It's real. Did it happen to you in your dream? Did you follow the question? The question is in the dream. Say you're dreaming, and you're in the dream. You're inquiring whether I'm dreaming or this is real. Then somebody, your friend comes. Hey, what are you doing? And you say, I'm just wondering whether it's dream or whether it's real. What a stupid thing that you are saying is you're real. This is not dream. How many of such things happen to you? Or it happened to you? Titya? It happened to you? Anyone else happened to you? Jyotirma, no. How come? People who are exploring emptiness, for them it should come actually. This should happen. Right? Okay, Rebecca ji?
I have one question I want to ask.
Yes.
When you analyze an inanimate object like this,
Yeah.
you break down, I am able to understand what you're saying. Or maybe emotions which comes from the mind. I don't understand when it's like a physical thing. There's so much there.
That's true.
Whether you break it down or not, it's still there. So
Yes.
how is it not objectively real?
That's true. Okay. So what do you call it? Inanimate objects, like the table, the house, and so forth, is fine. That's fine. But with the pains, physical pains, and so forth. Okay, Rebecca is bothered by the pains, right? Yeah. Okay. Feelings. Pain is a feeling. Pain falls under the category of feelings, right? And the pain is actually we should be asking more than the pain. We should be asking the pleasure, right? Because what traps us, which is worse, say if there are two prison guards. If there are two prison guards, one who is abusing the prisoner so much, abusing, torturing the prisoner so much, and the other prisoner guard never abusing, not even saying harsh words, giving good food, creating the swimming pool for you in the prison, and making, say, the beautiful garden for you, right? Okay, and then both the prisoners, after a year, to exterminated, meaning capital punishment. And both the prisoners do not know what is going to happen after 1 year. They have no clue. They don't know about the capital punishment, but they're imprisoned, right? Okay, you personify yourself in the form of these two prisoners. One, next you personify you imagine yourself as who you are outside the prison and looking at the two prisoners, right? If you are the prisoners themselves, right? Which of the prison guard is worse? The one who creates a swimming pool for you, one who always makes you to work so hard, hard labor work, then they beat you, scold you. Which of the two prison guard is worse? Huh? Which one? Who creates a swimming pool?
The one who hits you and makes you sad.
The two questions. First, I asked you to imagine that you are the prisoner and you have no clue that after 1 year, capital punishment. Right? You have no clue. If this is the case, then if you're given a choice, where will you go? Which of the two prisons you will go? You'll go in the first or second? Second, where the swimming pool is created. Yes. Now, if you are who you are now, and you have the extra information that after 1 year, capital punishment, right? So, which of the two prisoners, which of the two prisons is worse? With respect to you, who is an outsider, which two prisons is worse?
Is there a chance to run away, Vishnu? Is there a chance to run away? It's a serious question.
Very serious question. Yes.
Is there a chance to run away? If there's no
the question is, who will? Okay, first, chance to run away. For that matter, the person should have the enthusiasm to run away. Yes, no?
Yes.
Right? Person should have the enthusiasm to run away. And then you have to see the chance.
But like a very practical example, something happens in North Korea. They try and run, and at the border they are shot. So the
no, this is because of not being skilled. Right? Sovraj, you have heard about this?
What?
Sovraj.
Yeah. Charles Sovraj.
He is an expert, the escaper. Right? Imagine that you are the Charles Sovraj, yeah. Right? Okay. So there, if, say, where there is, although very difficult, but there's a way by which you can run away. Right? Okay. Then, which of the two prisoners will strive to escape? The one in the swimming pool or one being under abuse?
Abuse.
Okay. So that is the physical pain. With the pain, you are trying to run away, right? Rebecca, what is asking? Nobody asks us, I have this tremendous mental happiness, how to get out of this, how to meditate emptiness. Nobody asks this. Rebecca asks, with the acute pain, physical pain, which is so objectively real, how can we stay emptiness? So, which means she is trying to run away from this. Because this pain is torturing. There's a pleasant experiences, we feel trapped, right? We don't feel them as torturing us. In actuality, pleasant feeling is one which is torturing us, in actuality, right? Whereas only when we feel this pain, from this pain, right? Okay, don't worry, Rebecca, you don't have to meditate on emptiness of the pain. We will get rid of the pain. Time will heal the pain. Time healed, not healed. Right? Time healed. Okay, now you don't have pain. So I said earlier, and now the pain is gone, right? You don't do meditations of the pain. But the question still remains. It can come back anytime, right? It can come back anytime. When it happens, it's so acutely painful, I cannot bear it. So therefore, what can I do to get out of this altogether? Yes, this is a question that she's looking for, right? Okay, now, the point is, it is not that when you have the evident pain, even without evident pain, still you're bothered. Still you're looking for ways and means to get out of this altogether. So now the point is, where do we have this pain? When we have this pain, when we have this very gross body, right? This gross body, which is prone to tuberculosis, which is prone to illnesses, which is prone to breaking, right? Okay, you jump, right? Then it breaks, right? Okay, so these things happen, right? These things happen. So therefore, the point is, this is the physical body. As long as I have this body, it's not just a temporary relief is not sufficient, right? I will never be spared from this problem. Anytime I can have this acute pain, right? Even with sometimes this pain is so acute that even the morphine cannot work. If the morphine has to work, then you have to leave this body, right? So therefore, this is the acuteness of the pain. So how can I run away from this? We cannot say the best thing is to run away from this body, right? And yet, we are not ready to run away from this body. We still feel so attached to the body, right? We feel so attached to the body, particularly when we are very young, right? Age 14, 15, 16, that obsession to the body arises, right? One has to, look so nice, which means that there's so much of, okay, and then on top of that, even when we grow older, like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, still we don't want to leave this body. Okay, so which means we don't want the pain, but we want to let go of the pain, but we don't want to let go of the cause of the pain. Cause of the pain is the body. And of course, how can I kill myself, right? No, you don't have to kill, right? What attracts this faulty body? This faulty body, the cause. To have a body is not a problem. To have a faulty body is the problem, right? The body that we have is a faulty body which is prone to sickness, aging, death, and you fall and suddenly it breaks, right? And all this acute physical pain is so acute. It is said that physical pain and mental pain. Physical pain is more immediate. Mental pain is overriding. Mental pain overrides the physical pain, but the physical pain is more immediate. You're getting it? This is so important. Okay, now what makes me to have this faulty body? The causes, contaminant karmas, afflictions, and ignorance. So we see that in terms of the causal factor, long run, finally, what is the ultimate cause of this is ignorance. And number one. Number two. So with this ignorance, afflictions already created. Afflictions make us to create the contaminant karmas. Contaminant karmas, they already shot the arrow for us to experience the pains. So the arrow is already in the air and hitting any time and create pain in us, right? One. So this ignorance has already shot the arrow since many eons ago. Already shot the arrow. Arrows are just so many arrows in branches. They are flying in the air, ready to hit the target anytime. One. Number two, that the pain that we have, for us to feel the pain, again there should be some immediate cause. The immediate or simultaneous cause. The cause which is simultaneously required, immediately required there for us to feel the pain, again is self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance. So for us to feel the pain, self-grasping ignorance is so vicious in two ways. First, self-grasping ignorance, it from a very long distance in time has already shot the arrow for us to create the pain, feel the pain. One. Now, at the moment when it hits, then the body is affected. When the body is affected, to feel the pain, again we need the self-grasping ignorance. If the self-grasping ignorance is not there, the body is affected, but we will not feel the pain. We are not bothered by the pain. Pain is not there within us. So we see that self-grasping ignorance, if we can get rid of self-grasping ignorance at that point, even when the negative karma ripens on us, but we will not feel that in the form of pain. So for that matter, two things to be done. One, as an immediate measure for curb the pain, we can meditate on emptiness. One. Then number two is to cut it, to cut this pain. We have to plan, we have to have a long-term plan to get into the self-grasping ignorance altogether, right? Two things. Now for the pain, say the pain is what? Mental pain supported by the self-grasping ignorance. And when the pain is so acute, it's so sort of surreal, then we measure the counter forces, wisdom of emptiness. And the wisdom of emptiness, and in our case, what is the wisdom of emptiness like? How powerful that is? It's so weak, right? It's so weak. Okay, so if the pain is 80%, okay, nowadays in today's language from 0 to 10, what do you call it? So what is the pain like 0 to 10? 8, 9 is very severe, right? 9, 9.9 is so severe pain. What is the wisdom like 0 to 10? What's the 0.000001, right? Okay, if you don't want to feel the pain, then the remedy must be equally powerful. And how to make the remedy powerful? Not on the spot when you're hit by the pain. We have to prepare it way ahead of time, right? So study, reflection, meditation, these things we have to do as early as possible, right? And then as regularly as possible, which is so important, right? So finally, the wisdom of emptiness, this is so precious. And pain is a part of the mind. And the mind, we have to learn how to see the emptiness of the mind, right? Okay, so what we discussed this morning is briefly, very briefly about the emptiness of mind also, but we do not go into detail of that, but that has to be done. Emptiness of mind meditation is so important, right? And with this, if you can plant the seed of this wisdom of emptiness of the mind in this life, then next life, right? It comes very spontaneous. Even if it doesn't come spontaneously, you meet with a teaching on emptiness of the mind and you just click. It's so easy for us. Okay. And meditation on the emptiness of mind is quite scary. Why? Because as I said earlier, we don't want the suffering, but we don't let go of the cause of the suffering. Likewise, while we don't want the pain is attached to the mind, and not only the mind, but seeing the mind as objectively real, and we don't want to let go of the experience of seeing the mind as objectively real. We don't want to let go of this. How? The moment when we meditate on emptiness of mind, even if you get to say 0.01% of the experience of the emptiness of mind, there's such a fear in us, and the fear is quite acute that we don't want to go through this, which means that we want to be in the old state of mind. What is the old state of mind? Seeing the mind as objectively real, right? Okay, so for that matter, of course, we need a proper guidance. Meditation on the emptiness of mind, we need proper guidance. It could be quite scary and quite risky also, right? So it should be done with the proper guidance, and once done it, do it in a consistent way. Okay, this is very important. Okay. Rebecca, this is your question? So you really want to know how to meditate on the emptiness of mind? If possible, yes. Yes. Okay, for sure not now, but Rebecca, if you can remind me sometimes later when we are the free time, we'll do it. Yeah. Perhaps during one of the Bodhicitta days. You know that we have Tibet House, we're observing Bodhicitta Day once every month, right? We're going to do it as a part of that practice. Huh?
It's coming next Sunday.
Next Sunday, yeah. Yep. Okay. Good. Yes.
The light that we see. So the light that we see, which element is that?
The light. This is a good question. The light is composed of 4 elements.
All 4 elements.
Light is not an element. Light is composed of 4 elements. All the 4 elements are there.
You see. So because that would be one which I thought the touch consciousness cannot figure out. It's a visual thing, the light.
No, light is visual. Light is not touch. It has.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. 310. 310. Now this is pertaining to. Okay, this is interesting. My question still remains. My question is, where's the pot? It's just atoms. Where's the pot? Huh? Right? Just go closer to the pot and you will see that our eyes are very crude. Our eyes are very crude. It has so many limitations. And then our eyes are very coarse, crude, so we see this pot. But if our eyes are very refined, like the electron microscope, we'll see just the electrons and protons and the atoms. Where's the pot? This is my question. What's the answer? Where's the pot? Can you imagine that? Can you go into the pot, right? If you look at the same pot, which is so smooth at the moment, if you look at through electron microscope, you keep fine-tuning the electron microscope, keep fine-tuning this. Initially, you will this tenderness, the smoothness of the texture will disappear. It will become cracky, right? And you keep fine-tuning this, then you will see what in the form of the molecules. Keep fine-tuning this, then you will see the what? Atoms, right? Okay, this is how we see the object, which we call as the pot, and through a very defined sight. So where is the pot? The pot disappears. Where's the pot? This question. Okay, which of the atom is the pot? None. The pot is non-existent or existent? It is existent. Where does it exist? What you earlier saw was deceptive. Where does it exist? It's just the atoms. Okay, now to resolve this problem, okay, how many of you are little uneasiness came to your mind? Uneasiness meaning, okay, I can't really give, there's a problem there, I cannot, I'm lost, right? There's a contradiction there, I cannot see that. So I have to say that there's no pot. I'm just seeing the atoms. Okay, how many of you get this feeling of little unease? confused. How many of you get this feeling? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Others? 6. If you have this little uneasy feeling, little uneasy, really uneasy, if that comes, which means that you are getting somewhere. You are getting somewhere. This is so precious. It's so precious. Okay. If you have this uneasy feeling coming, then Vaisheshik. There's the philosophical tradition known as Vaisheshik, non-Buddhist tradition. Very likely pre-Buddha's time. Vaisheshik, and existed later on as well. Today, many of these Indian philosophical traditions, they now become like say university studies. No particular the philosophers, no particular the adherents, the practitioners of these philosophy. They are more like, okay, Vaisheshik say like this. For example, saying the Buddhist philosophy, saying within Tibetan tradition, we see that some would say that I follow Prasangika, and some would say that I follow the Svatana Bandhipika, and some of the Chinese traditions would say that I follow Chitta Mantra. So this is what they really believe in. So whereas these philosophers, Vaisheshik, Nyaya, Samkhya, Vedantic, they are people who really believe in this philosophy. They practice in this philosophy, Vedantic, the philosophy. Within Vedanta, again, there are divisions there. Advaita Vedanta, Vaita Vedanta, there are the differences there. But there are some traditions at least. But whereas many of the other traditions, they're already like, they become outdated. Philosophy-wise, they're very good philosophy. But somehow the people who really adhere to this philosophy, they disappeared. Now people, they study more like the university subject. They don't really believe in this philosophy. Also, Vaisheshik, they came up with a very interesting answer. They said then, never mind. When you go like this, the pot disappears, but the pot does exist, right? When you look at it, if the pot is not there, it's just atoms. When you look at it from a distance, what made you see a pot? This is a question. What made you see a pot? This is a question, right? Then, not only that, you say that, oh, there's a pot there, or okay. Say there's also millions of atoms. There's also millions of atoms. And there's also millions of atoms. But when you look at this, it's white, this is red. Shape is very different. But there's a flower there. There's a flower there. There's a flower there. You getting it? All these three we see as flowers. Right? What is that thing which is common to all these three? What is that thing there which is common to all these three things? Flower. What is that common thing? There's nothing common there. This is red with a different shape, and this is white with different shape, and this is again pink with different shape. What is common there? There's nothing really common there. But we see all these three things with one thing in common, which is that all three are flowers. What is that flower which is common to all these three things? What is that flower? Tell me, anyone? Huh? In perception, what perception, what? Which perception? What perception?
Connected to memory and...
No, my question is, say, do you see a flower there or do you see a flower in your perception? There's a flower there, right? There's a flower there. Okay. Tell me, how many of you like cheesecake? Well, okay, let's say, just see whether cheesecake is a perception or a real cheesecake. Okay, I hold cheesecake in my left hand. This is cheesecake given to you. And then I have an empty hand. There's an imaginary cheesecake for you. There's a cheesecake. Imagine a cheesecake, right? Which will trigger pleasant feeling in you? The cheesecake in my left hand or the imaginary cheesecake in my right hand? Which will trigger pleasant feeling in you? Tell me. Cheesecake in my left hand. The one in my right hand is imaginary cheesecake. This is just a perception, right? If it's just a perception, it does not trigger any pleasant feeling within you. You're getting it? So therefore, cheesecake is more than perception. You're getting it? And on top of that, what we are saying is that how we see things is we see things 24/7. 24/7 we see things as objectively real. We see things as nothing to do with the mind. Everything's coming from the object. How many of it happens to you? 24/7, you are seeing things as objectively real. Rebecca, Jordan, over there. Oh yeah, how many? Sometimes there's a break happening. One day things are all seen as coming from my mind, right? And the rest of the 6 days then coming from the object. No, 24/7 things appear to exist from the object. This is responsible for all our problems. This misperception of the reality, seeing things as 100% from the object, that is the one which causes all our problems. So we have to dismantle this. To dismantle this perception, first we have to challenge this perception that if things exist the way it appears as 100% from the object, right? From the object, nothing to do with the mind, then where is this object known as the flower, which pervades all these three things? The yellow, no, the red, the pink, and the white, with different shapes, different colors, and still we say that there's a flower there. You see the flower objectively real, or your mind, you see it as imputed by your mind. How does the flower appear to your mind? It appears as objectively real. If it is objectively real, where is this flower? Where is this flower there? From the object, where is it? This question. So, if we explore this, we will be left with no answer. Right? So somehow there's a problem. Shape-wise is very different. Color-wise is very different. More than the color and the shape, there's nothing, there's a flower. The flower is just the color and the shape. Right? Okay. So to solve this problem, Vaisheshik philosophers, they came up with the beautiful concept, amazingly beautiful concept. They say that there's one phenomenon known as flower, right? Flower, which is partless, which does not have part. It is, say in Tibetan, it is known as Chi Tun Shen, meaning separate generality. Separate generality. There's a phenomenon known as separate generality of the flower. Separate generality of the flower is the one which pervades all flower in the universe. Right? It pervades all flower in the universe. And where? Oh, this is a flower. Okay. How many of you have seen this flower for the first time in your life? Right? You are seeing this for the first time? Okay. Although you are seeing this for the first time, I show this, I ask, what is this? What is the answer? Flower. How do you know that there's a flower? This is a flower. You are seeing this for the first time, right? How do you know that this is a flower? Okay, we don't really have an answer. Either you follow Acharya Dharmakirti's philosophy or Vaisheshik's philosophy. Vaisheshik philosophy is beautiful. They say that, no, it's very simple. Even though you have not seen this before, but this object has this separate generality, separate generality, which is identical to the separate generality, which is on this flower. So first time when you're very young, your mother must have brought her, say, a flower on your birthday. And then you don't know what this is. And then you ask your mother, what is this? And the mother says, this is a flower. Right? So what this has is what? It has the the separate generality, Chi-Tenshin, separate generality of flower, and the mother has pointed to this separate generality of the flower and said that this is a flower. So this separate generality, where you see this separate generality, you can easily say this is a flower also, this is a flower, this is a flower. Okay, how many times should you be introduced to flower? 1 time, 2 times? Huh? In your case, how many times you were introduced to flower? Pujala? 1 time. Only 1 time. Then whenever you see blue flower, yellow flower, big, small, whatever, you can say this flower, 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 right? How come that you're able to say there's a flower, flower, flower? How come? Because of the, okay. So Vashishi says that no, it's very simple. So actually what her mother did was, mother pointed to the separate generality, Chi-Tenshin, of the flower, said this is a flower, and where she sees this Chi-Tenshin, separate generality, wherever she sees that, she said this flower, this flower, this flower. You getting it? Okay. So even with this white flower, color is different, shape is different, but the Chi-Tenshin is same. Chi-Tenshin, that is different in terms of entity, different entity with respect to the flower, this flower. Chi-Tenshin is different entity, and yet that is partless in nature, and that's identical to all other. The Chi-Tenshin is just identical, right? So this Chi-Tenshin is, wherever it is there, then you say that there's a flower there. It's beautiful, it's amazing. It solves many of the problem, right? Okay. So then the question arises that Acharya Dharmakirti, then he is a great logician, right? So logician, then only unless you meet with such a bright logician, you can escape. With this answer, many of the questions are solved. Then the Acharya Dharmakirti came and he asked very complicated questions, and your philosophy is destroyed. Vashishi's philosophy is destroyed. Right? So the question is, if this flower, okay, this flower is very big, this flower is very small. So Chi-Tenshin that spreads over this flower must be smaller than this flower. Right? If Chi-Tenshin is as big as this one, it spreads only a part of this. These two are identical. These two Chi-Tenshin should be identical. It spread only part of this, right? Part of this. So where you see this Chi-Tenshin, you see flower. Where you don't see Chi-Tenshin, you don't see a flower there. Right? All these debates, then the whole concept of Chi-Tenshin is dismantled by Acharya Dharmakirti. Right? Okay. Then Acharya Dharmakirti, then a question is asked, then what is your position? How do you give the answer? Then he gave his answer. Right? Okay. What is the object? Number 2 is the mental propensities, mental latencies. Right? Okay. Emptiness of objectivity is the objectivity of the emptiness. No. Emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the emptiness of the objectivity of the object. Objectivity of the object is the emptiness of the objectivity of the object. Right? Okay. How many of you are so comfortable with it the first time you heard it? First time you heard it, you cannot even replicate it the second time. Forget about becoming comfortable with it. Right? Okay. Then, how come that now is so easy for you? Objectivity of the object is the emptiness of objectivity of the object. How come that it's become so comfortable with you now? Because of the habits. Because that my mind's used to this, hearing it over and over and over again. The more we hear about these things, the more the imprints are laid. The more the imprints are laid, more the mind is easily activated. Right? So, with the object, this is a flower, this imprint we have laid so many times in the past lives. So these imprints get activated. Say, when the object is very gross like this, the flower and so forth, imprint is very easy to be activated. But the wisdom of emptiness, imprint is so difficult to be activated. Because we are not so used to this in the earlier times, right? So where we have put more, implanted more imprints in the life of seeing things, right? Say, is it necessary that if you have seen this as a flower, if somebody says this is a flower, is it necessary that you see any other flower and you'll be able to identify that as a flower? Yes, no? Well, not necessary. Not necessary. Okay, so for example, these are the problems. These are the problems. For example, Pluto. How many planets are there in the solar system? In our solar system, how many planets are there?
9 including.
9 if Pluto is included. Right? When I was young in the school, Pluto was already included, 9. Then when I was 30 years later, Pluto was excluded. Right? Why? Because the demarcation, whether it should be included as Pluto, the planet or not. And who decides what is a planet or not? Who decides? The planets will not say that I'm planet. Oh, Pluto is not a planet, kick it out. Planet will not say this. It is we who have to say this. And planet is also a solid object. And as the meteoroids are also solid object. Why we call some object as planet, some objects not as planet? Why? Right? And there is a difference there. There's a difference there. One is a meteoroid, one is one object which is meteoroid, and one object which is bigger size, whatever. Right? There is a difference there. There is something which is common amongst these 8. Amongst these 8, which is not shared by a meteoroid. Right? There's something common. And what is that common? What is that common? When you try to define it, then it is also applicable to Pluto. Right? And if Pluto is a part of the planet, then the meteoroid should also become a part of planet, because that also qualifies the meteoroids also. To kick off the meteoroid, again Pluto has to be kicked off. So these are the problems. So the labelings, it's only through labelings. Labelings are done by the human beings, not necessarily human beings, by the beings, right? So how much you have labeled, how much you're used to this labeling from the past, that determines how easy you are in identifying things with the associated with label. So therefore, it is with the object plus there's no tension there. Is the object, the atoms and so forth. And then with what kind of configuration? With what kind of configuration, right? Your mind labels it. It depends on how you have labeled, how much you're used to this in the past. So then you bring it here, and then when you see a certain configuration of the thing, oh, these are the bread flags, oh, this is a wall, this is a flower, right? So these things happen in the way. But is that 100%? You're able to label 100% accurately everywhere? No. That way of labeling is not 100% precise, right? Because it's coming from the subject, and subject is very fluid. Subjectivity is very fluid. It's not that it's 100% from the object demarcated. Okay. So this is a very important point. So what they say, Vaisheshik, they say is that, okay, there's just a bunch of atoms there, but what is there on this bunch of atoms is the chi tension of the pot. When you see the chi tension of the pot, you say there's a pot there, right? This is how we see the pot. You're getting it? Okay. So this solves a problem. How many of you had this uneasy feeling before? No, because of Vaisheshik's position, this uneasy feeling disappears now because of the chi tension, right? Chi tension there, where there's a chi tension of the pot there, you see a pot. Perfect. So the pot still exists objectively. Okay. Now 310. Since it was produced as something visible, it is of no use at all to the pot. So say the pot, Since it refers to the pot. Since the pot was produced as something visible, pot is what? It should be visible. Pot is a visible thing, right? We cannot deny this reality. Pot is a visible thing. So the pot is a visible thing. What I should be seeing is I'm seeing a pot, right? I should be seeing a pot, and with all the reasonings, we can easily refute the existence of the Chitenshin. And Chitenshin is totally irrelevant here. What I'm seeing is the pot. And the pot is a visible object. And if we say the pot is not a visible object, it is the Chitenshin there, and then you say that I see a pot. If this is how you present it, then it's fine. But what you say is that all these, for example, say this pot, okay, this flower, different, this flower, pink flower, different, red flower, all these three flowers are different. What is common? According to Vaisheshik is what? Chitenshin of the flower. Chitenshin of the flower is common there. But as the individual objects, they are just different. They're different, right? Okay, now, what is that individual object which differs amongst these three? That is the white flower, pink flower, red flower. Likewise, this pot also has the one quality attribute which is different from the, say, the golden pot. Golden pot and this clay pot, these two are different, right? As a pot, you can say the Chitenshin is there of the pot, but then this is a clay pot. That is a golden pot. There's a difference. So this, how can you distinguish between these two pots? Through vision. You see it as a clay pot, you see that as a golden pot. So this clay pot is something visible. We don't really need anything in between for me to see the visible pot. It's so visible there. Okay, since it was produced as something visible, it is of no use at all to the pot. It is the generality, separate generality. This separate generality of the pot is of no use for the pot, because the pot is something visible and I'm seeing it directly. As for the production of visibility, it lacks even the entity of existence. So, since that the pot is visible directly, not necessarily through anything else, so this Chitenshin has nothing to do to make this pot visible to my eyes. So therefore, existence of Chitenshin itself is questionable. Right? Okay, 311. Now they say that. Okay, now they say that the sense organs. What makes you see that there's a flower there? With my eye consciousness can see that. How does your eye consciousness see the flower with the help of the? Okay, there should be three things. In other words, for the eye consciousness to arise, there should be three things. One is the object. If the object is not there, if the flower is not there in front of you, you will not have this side of the flowers. The object should be there. Number two is the eye sense power. If your eyes are defective, or if you are blind, and even if you pay attention, you will not see the flower. So there should be the eye sense power. And then if your mind is not concentrating on the flower, your mind is distracted elsewhere. Again, even your eyes are wide open with the flower, still you will not see the flower. So these three things should be there. One is the flower object, one eye sense power, one is the immediate preceding consciousness. Three things must be there. Now what they're saying is that these three things, they exist truly. Again, the point is, although the opponents are trying to present their position, but if we study this well, it will help us to remove our misconceptions. What the misconceptions of opponents are, they reflect exactly our own misconceptions. When we learn that eye consciousness arises by dependence on these three conditions, automatically we get a feeling that these three conditions exist truly. So they say that opponents, they say that I sense power, I sense organs, or I sense power, they exist truly because what it sees, the object seen, that exists truly. Right? Because the object seen exists truly. If it exists truly, then the I sense power cannot be illusion-like. It should be really true to see the true object. Okay, 311. Okay, so it's the same both ways. One is they say that object, the three factors, object, I sense power, I sense consciousness. So in some cases you say that object exists truly because the I sense power exists truly. And others will say that I sense power exists truly because the object exists truly. So whichever way it works, we have to reject it that way. So what it says here is that it's the other way. So the object, the flower, like the pot exists truly because the I sense power exists truly. I sense to see the pot exists truly. 311. I, like the ear, is an outcome of the elements. I sees while other senses do not see. Certainly, therefore, the subduer said, the fruition of actions is inconceivable. Okay. Your eyes are made of 4 elements. Your ear sense power is also made of 4 elements. Same, right? Whereas only the eye sense power can see. Other senses cannot see. Ear sense can hear. Other senses cannot hear. Right? Okay. If these sense powers, they exist truly. If these sense powers exist truly, meaning exist from the object, right? Exist from the object, then on the object, what is there? 6 elements. No, the 4 elements on the object. Eye sense power also made of 4 elements. 4 elements, 4 elements, 4 elements. If combination of 4 elements that has the ability to see, one or others also have the ability to see. 1/3 factor is required, right? Okay, let's see. 311. The eye, like the ear, is an outcome of the elements. Ear sense power is the outcome of the 4 elements. Likewise, the eye is also outcome of the 4 elements, same. Whereas the eyes, they can see, while others do not see. Right? It's very strange. Okay, what is your answer? Right? Eyes can see, but others cannot see. But they are made of the same constituencies. Sorry?
Functionality changes.
How?
The building blocks can be the 4 elements, but at the functional level.
Functional level is where? Which atom? The first atom or second atom?
That is not the functional level then. It's
No.
just
No.
I'm making an attempt. I know I will not be able to defend
If things exist objectively, this is one.
No, then I don't want to answer.
Okay. Okay. Tibet is addicted to Prasangika already. Okay, what is the thing? This is a question. It's very strange. In fact, one question that really struck me was when I first learned 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen is water. Hydrogen is gas, oxygen is gas. The moment these 3 things come together, it becomes fluid, right? It becomes liquid. Very strange, right? So I was thinking, on the atomic level, still is a gas. On the atomic level, oxygen is oxygen, hydrogen is hydrogen, it's still gas, right? When you go deeper atomic level, there's no liquid there, right? If you keep a distance, look at it, again it flows. Very strange. So where is that coming from, the liquidity? Where is it coming from, right? It was a big question coming to my mind when I was in school. Right? So where's the water? Where's this liquid water? Where is it? It's just hydrogen and oxygen, both are oxygen, both are gas. Where is it? It was a big question. It was really bothering. Mentally, there was a confusion, an unease feeling, a deep, profound unease feeling, right? And likewise, momentum. How do you define momentum? Mass into velocity, right? Mass and velocity, yes. Mass and velocity. Again, this was a question which was really bothering me. Right? Mass, okay, something is there. Velocity is something is fine. The speed with the direction. Velocity is there. But what's momentum? Right? Momentum. There's something called momentum. What is momentum? Mass and velocity. What do you mean by mass and velocity? Why should we multiply these two things? Right? It was a big question. It was really bothering me. Only after joining the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, studying of dependent origination, then it started to make sense. It started to make sense. Okay, this is the meaning of momentum. Momentum, nothing really there as I thought. It should be something like mass, solid like this. Nothing, they just multiply these two things, this is known as momentum. Finish. Right? Just a label given. And then the another thing that struck me when I was, I think, class 9 was that electricity was introduced in physics, in the study in science, chapter on electricity. And my teacher said that there are two poles. Electricity, there are two ends. One is randomly called as a positive, and the other one is randomly called as negative. What is random? Why random? Why not? Why not? This is positive, this is negative. Why not? Why randomly? Why conventionally? It was, again, it gave a very uneasy feeling within me. What's this? Why random? Why should we add this word random? Why should we call it conventionally? Why not say directly that this positive, this negative? Why not directly? Why we say conventionally? Why? It was a big question to me. Right? Okay. So the point is that because from our past lives, we cling to the objective existence so much. The moment that is shaken, then the whole faith in the existence shakes. Okay, these are things that we need to explore. So the point is that our eye sense power is made of 4 elements. Ear sense power made of 4 elements. All the 5 senses are made of the 4 elements. But only a group of 4 elements, which we label as eye consciousness, eye sense power, it has the ability to see, and it does not function to hear. It does not function to smell. It does not function to taste. That's very strange. Right? That's very strange. Okay, so the question is that where is that thing which smells? No, which sees, which does not smell? And why others cannot see? Why only the eye sense power can see? This question. Okay, it says 311. The eye, like the ear, is an outcome of the elements. Eye sees what others do not. Certainly, therefore, the subduer said, the fruition of actions is conceivable. Okay, so these two are slightly disjoint the two things. One talking about the eye sense power and the sense powers, and the other certainly jumping to the law of karma. In fact, the fruition of karma, actions of the karma. The point is that if you reject that the sense power existing truly, given rise to the perception of the truly existing object, if you reject this, then you are rejecting the cause effect. You are rejecting cause effect. Because with the sense power and the object, then the eye consciousness seeing the object comes to origination, cause effect. You reject the cause effect. If you reject the cause effect, then the Buddha taught the cause effect as the very important concept in Buddhism. So you're rejecting that. So it says, certainly therefore the subduer meaning the Buddha. The Buddha said the fruition of the action is inconceivable. So the law of karma is true. The Buddha said it's very true. Okay, how would you give the answer? Is there anyone who has to give the answer? If you reject the sense power, object, they are all empty of true existence, then suddenly I say that if the cause and effect is not truly existent, then the Buddha said the cause and effect is very truly operating, is very efficacious, is very effective. How can you reconcile this? Anyone? Anyone? Do you follow the question? The question is, on the one hand, you reject that cause and effect to be existent truly. That is rejected, what you've rejected. On the other hand, you accept that what the Buddha taught, law of karma, as effective, as true. How can you reconcile these two things? Anyone? Okay, no answer. Dibeshla, you will try?
So, rejecting true existence or objective existence, we are not rejecting existence. So these opponents, for them, if objective or true existence is rejected, for them existence is also rejected. So they are not able to segregate between the existence and the objective existence. That's the issue.
Okay, I think the issue is a little more than this.
Yes, I would also say that it's more at the subtle level this, but then law of karma being such an infallible.
No, not in that sense. Do you get the sense that cause giving rise to effect, it does not exist truly, is what you said. And law of karma acts efficaciously, right? Negative karma will give rise to suffering. Positive karma gives rise to happiness. Is this true or not?
Yes, it's true.
You say it's true. On the other hand, you rejected true existence. You're getting it? On the one hand, you said nothing exists truly. Now you are saying that negative karma giving rise to suffering is true. Positive karma giving rise to happiness is true. So there's a true existence here.
So we can bring in the example of dream. That in dream, nothing exists truly. Still, this is a loose example that feelings can arise. We can have a nightmare. We can have pleasant experiences. So there is some level of causality in the dream. May not be. It's a very small subset of law of karma. But we can take this example.
Okay. Anyone who likes to add to this or would like to give you an answer? Did you follow the question? Rimala? Huh? Did you follow the question? If you follow the question, I'm very confident you have the answer. The question is that on the one hand you are saying that nothing exists truly. Nothing is truly existent, one. Number two, you are saying you are positing some true existence. That to good things, happiness will happen. Is this true or false? It's true. You said it's true, right? Okay. To bad things, miseries will happen. Is true or false? True. On the one hand, you rejected true existence. Now you're accepting that these two statements are true. Right? So how can you reconcile these two things?
Geshe, the way you would reconcile dependent on creation and emptiness.
No, the point is, okay, you have to work on this word true.
True, even Even the law of
The
karma.
first one true is in this context. Second one true is in this context. You have to contextualize. Otherwise, you cannot come out of this problem.
Law of karma also ultimately does not exist. In the ultimate
It does not exist truly. Truly, but is true in what sense? True in conventional
In the
sense.
conventional sense.
Right? So whereas on the other hand, nothing is truly means nothing is ultimately. It's not saying that nothing is conventionally. Right?
Yes.
So things can be true in the conventional sense, but things cannot be true in the ultimate sense. This is a distinction that we should be able to make. You getting it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good. So this is why I'm saying that the mother has the answer. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here now. Yeah. Questions? Yes.
Krishna, I'm still trying to think that if light has all the four elements,
Yes.
then why does the touch consciousness does not play any role in detecting it? If it has the earth element, light has the earth element, then if we are saying the element of earth is sensed by the body or touch consciousness,
Yes, yes.
so then is it a pervasion that anything that has the earth element should be sensed by the body consciousness? I know the answer is no, right?
Why not? So the earth element within the light,
yes,
is very subtle. That the body consciousness that we have is so gross. When your body consciousness, even the sense powers can be refined through practice, through meditative practice. Sense powers can be refined and activated. Say, even if we are in the desire realm, we cannot see the form realm.
Right.
And we cannot see the deva realm at the moment. But through meditative experience, we can refine, we can activate the sense organ to sense power to the extent that sense power can see the higher realms. It can be done.
Isn't that the mental consciousness? It is a sensory consciousness that sees.
No, what actually sees is the consciousness
Using the sense power.
the sensory consciousness, and what it employs for the sense consciousness to see the physical thing there in the Deva realm or in 33 and the 33 God-Goddess realm and in the form realm, what actually the visual objects to be seen by it must be seen through the medium of the sense power. So this sense power that you have can be refined to such extent that it is ability to see not only your area, but the higher forms also. Yeah. So this is a sense consciousness, not mental consciousness. So mental consciousness is to do with the reading the other's mind. And not only reading the other's mind, it can also say according to the sutra system, say the higher knowledge, clairvoyance explained pertaining to the ears and the eyes, not the nose, tongue, and the body. In Tantra, all five are there. With Tantra, you employ a different method by which not only to make with the sutra system, strictly following the sutra system, you can have the clairvoyance to hear the sound, distance sound, and to see the distant visual objects. But you cannot taste the distant food, you cannot smell the distant smell, and you cannot touch the distant objects. But with the tantric, say the methods, you can employ these methods to actually taste the food in Nigeria while sitting in India. you can taste the food there, you can smell, you can touch, all these things can be done.
Geshe, I don't know whether this is related, but I've been thinking for quite a long time now. Science posits the sense organs, not the sense power.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if I was just trying to reconcile that, why can't from Buddhist psychology we can posit only the mental consciousness and the senses, the sense organs? I still can explain everything the way Buddhist psychology says without positing the sense consciousnesses.
No.
Just the mental, like you have the brain where science says everything is processed. So if I replace that with the mind, I'm able to explain everything that I know.
You are saying with the mental consciousness and the sense powers, not
No
the
sense consciousness.
not the sense consciousness.
Not- no
Still we
sense.
can explain.
Still we can.
That's not true.
That's what I'm trying to posit something with this model that I can't posit, and I'm not able to find
In
it.
fact, what the modern science is explaining, is saying, is that mental consciousness, of course, although they are not too clear about it as yet, that's fine. Then for them, they cannot really posit. They have no clue. It's not really can or cannot. They have no clue of their sense powers. They only talk about the sense organs, and the sensory consciousness. Sensory consciousness, they talk about sensory consciousness. When the sensory consciousness is active, then what is happening on the brain level, they describe it. The cortex level is more active, all these things they explain. But they have no clue of the sense powers. So this is a big question as to how we can posit the existence of sense powers. Because sense power is something very different, which the contemporary science cannot touch at the moment. Because sense power is something which in fact, the science cannot touch anything which is beyond this life. Beyond this life, they cannot explain anything. They don't even say, they have no clue. They don't touch and they have no clue. Because finally they have to do it on the basis of the machines. And the machines cannot go beyond this life. Right? So what they see is the brain waves. From the brain waves, we see what we can infer is the mental consciousness and the sensory consciousness. And the sense powers is something that extends across lives, not only one life. It extends across lives. Say this life, next life, next life, and so forth. And the body change. Physical body, it changes from this life. You discard the whole body, you acquire a totally new body in the next life. But the sense powers, we don't acquire new ones. It's the same sense power which we inherit from beginner's time. It keeps going. With this, even when you go to take birth in the formless realm, sense powers travels in the form of imprints, not as a physical sense power, go in the form of imprints. Okay, so this is the point discussion. Then the question is, how can you prove that sense power exists? That is a different question. Yeah.
My question was not related to sense powers. My question was that if it is just the mental consciousness, sense powers, and sense organs, still you can, at least the way I am reflecting, that I can posit for all the phenomena that I can think of, why is there a need to have a sense consciousness? Because we can always say that sense organ via the sense power give the data to the mental consciousness.
No, let's make it very clear. Say, how do we know that there's a sense consciousness? To be very direct.
One that, and is it a separate substance than the mental consciousness? Do they have?
No, that is a different thing. Then, the first question is what makes us think that there's a sense consciousness. Likewise, we can ask what makes us think that there's a mental consciousness? It's just the brain.
Well, mental consciousness I can experience, like if I
No,
experience
there's a
something.
brain. There's just a brain, your brain.
Yeah, at my level I can see it's the brain, but by experiences, my experience, that if I start from there.
No, there's a brain actually. It's a brain activation, neural firing happening.
Possible, but
That gives you a feeling that there's a mental consciousness.
right. Then it makes this question more stronger. Then what's the need to call it sense consciousness then?
Not only sense consciousness, but about mental consciousness also. Even what you see as a brain, even that is also, or how your brain interprets. Even that's also questionable. So these questions, so one is that science, as of yet, these questions they don't ask. Why they don't ask is because they don't reach that level of the sophistication. For the time being, they're on the very gross, taken for granted there's a brain. First we'll keep in mind that there's a brain. Don't ask, don't question the existence of the brain. Even this is just illusion. They don't ask this, they don't question. If this is asked, then you are breaking the foundation of modern science. The foundation of neuroscience. So the brain is there. And the brain is made of neurons. And the neurons, they fire. And transmitters are transmitted from one neuron to the other. And through synaptic connections. All these things you have to accept. Right? Don't say that even this is an illusion. Now on that basis, then what is happening to the Western mental consciousness? Mental consciousness, they have to create dictionaries. What is happening on the brain? They don't have to create dictionaries. They can actually see that. For the mental consciousness, they have to create dictionaries. If you want to know how dictionaries are created, you must read the Future of the Mind by, what is his name? Michio Kaku. His book is very good. He's a physicist. He's a world-renowned physicist. He's not a neuroscientist, but his book, he has a book on physics and his book on neuroscience, but his book on neuroscience is more popular. The Future of Mind. Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku. This book is so good. The Future Mind. This book is so good. Yeah. So there, and it's amazing. He's not just coming up with his own ideas like this. He was just bringing facts from the neuroscientists, his neuroscience friends. He's bringing facts from them, and on that basis he's working, explaining. So he was explaining about the creating dictionaries for the mental functions, right? Which means that neuroscientists, they have no clue about the mental consciousness, but they know that mental consciousness exists. So to correlate the mental functions with the brain functions, they have to create dictionaries.
But if you remain in the domain of Buddhist psychology, let's not bring science. Within that domain, still we can explain at least what I've thought, that without positing sense consciousness. What is the need for positing sense consciousness?
Sense consciousness. I don't know why you are disturbed with the sense consciousness. Sense consciousness is pretty easy. Sense consciousness, the unique feature of sense consciousness is the clarity. When I look at the flower with eyes open, there's clarity there. Close eyes, clarity disappears. That consciousness, where the clarity is indispensable part, there is a sense consciousness. Where the clarity disappears, in my case, where the clarity disappears, that is the mental consciousness.
That's not fair. I have a lot of contradictions about this anyway.
Tejala, you have a question? Yes, Sanjeevla.
I have one second question. The sense organs which we were discussing earlier, how come the fifth element is not included in that?
Which fifth?
Space.
Space. Okay, good question. This is a good question. Okay. Say the four elements, oftentimes in Abhidhamma Kosh, Abhidhamma Kosh is a beautiful text, amazing, beautiful text. There it enumerates how the Buddha was referring to the 4 elements, 5 elements, 6 elements, 10 elements, 18 elements, 12 elements, all these various classifications of the elements. They were all put into proper, say, classify into proper the groups, did the proper grouping of all these. So, say at one time Buddha was referring to only to 4 elements. Other times element of space also included. Other times element of consciousness also included, right? And then going deeper with the same label elements, the connotation was applied to the 12 elements, 18 elements, and so forth. And then again within the 4 elements, not just the earth, fire, water, air, there are other labels, not referring to these 4, referring to something else. There are so many elements, class of elements the Buddha taught. Okay, so why form and space not, right? Space, we speak about the substance. We speak about the substance. Substance, like for example, say in a very strict philosophy and logic, even the space also has substance. But in a very ordinary, mundane sense, space also has substance. When you say that, okay, I'm holding a substance, people will see that you are crazy. Right? There's nothing there. But the space is there with me. So ordinary people, they don't qualify the space as substance. So what we are made of? What we are made of? We are made of the substance. Even from the point of view of the ordinary people. What are they? Earth, water, fire, air. Earth, solid substance, ordinary people consider it as substance. Water, fire, air, all are considered substance. But a space, the space per se is not what ordinary people consider as substance. So this is one way of classifying. Then to make it more precise, then speak about the substance, the air, the space also. So in this connection, in Tantra, particularly Shri Kalachakra Tantra, there's mention of the space particles. Space particles. If you're interested, you can read this book, which came recently, launched by His Holiness, actually initially conceived by His Holiness himself, to bring about the Buddhist psychology, Buddhist science and Buddhist philosophy into this, or put together in a book. So the first section on the Buddhist science already came out in the English translation also. I think it's available in Tibet House. Yeah. So there's a mention of this space particle. There is more from the point of view of the Shri Kalachakra Tantra.
This concept of non-composite space. I just wondered.
Say it again.
The concept of non-composite space. Is it something which is an idea that came out of Buddhist philosophical system, or is it part of Indian classical thought in general? In what context was it necessary that this idea of non-composite space was highlighted or brought as a specific category?
In fact, what we can say is that the Acharya Dignaga, this concept of isolate, this is something so unique of Acharya Dignaga. Acharya Dignaga, the father of the Buddhist logic, concept of the isolates. So how things come to being by the power of the mind. Say, before pre-Buddha's time, things were all believed to be substantially real, objectively real, solidly real. There, nothing to do with mind. This was the preconception in those days. Then, with the advent of Buddhism, then how things can possibly come into being by the part of the mind. So that is introduced. That is introduced not at the time of Vaibhashika, but at the time of Southanta school. So in Southanta school, then this concept of isolates, this becomes it becomes a great contribution to the study of the concept, to knowledge overall. It became a great, I won't say revolution as such, but this concept is the main contribution made by Acharya Aryadeva and of course many scholars in between, but primarily Acharya Aryadeva and Acharya Dharmakirti. So this concept given to being. Before that, as I said, Chitanshan, all these concepts, they were there in order to resolve these questions, right? And then this concept of the non-composite space, all these things. The moment this key of the isolates and entities is given, then from there so many problems can all be resolved without any contradiction. Like how we can speak about, say, the two truths. For example, to explain what the two truths are. If one is not introduced to the concept of entities isolates, it's so difficult on the part of the teacher, on the part of the listeners. It's very difficult, it's so confusing. The moment this concept is explained, it's so easy. Yeah. So it's more the contribution from Buddhist logic.
Like in the morning class, it's a related question. For the composite space, why did we say that eye consciousness can see it? For blind people, they would use a stick or their hand. They can establish through their tactile consciousness also the composite space.
See what?
Like in the morning, teaching a defined composite space that can be posited by the eye consciousness, that we can see it. Why only eye consciousness? It can be the tactile body consciousness also, the composite space. Like
composite. Okay, let's say that. Okay, did you follow the question? Yes. Okay, you should also think of this. The question is that the composite space is something which our eyes can see. If this were the case, then this space is what even the blind people, without the
working vision, without the eyes,
without the visual, absence of the visual, still can see that, still can sense that there's a space there.
Six senses.
Right? So the question is, how is it that the composite space is only visually perceptible? Even the blind people can also perceive it. This question. Anyone? Ramala? Huh? Did you follow the question? Once you follow the question, you have the answer. Ajidawala? Okay, so basically this is pretty easy. Right? What we do is that the blind person knows the touch. What is touch? They have this capacity.
Six senses very sharp.
Touch is the air. With the touch, then they have the sense of the time. Right? Okay. I touch it, yes, now I could touch it. And then I go further, okay, I cannot touch. Now touch, there's a gap in time. Right? So this, what those people with eyes would say as a space, composite space, which I cannot see. Right? So they infer through time that they touch.
Light requires time to travel, so it's the same thing for the eye consciousness. if this room was completely dark, very theoretically, my brain, my mind cannot sense the speed of light, but I know light has a speed.
Yes.
So suddenly, if I don't know where I am,
Yeah.
and I'm trying, like, moment the light is switched on,
Yes.
the light will hit the table,
Yes.
reflect, and then come in. So, if this is the logic, then the same logic applies to the eye consciousness, that I am inferring, not seeing the composite space, because there is a time involved.
Which is easier? Light falling there, then inferring is easier, or direct? I'm seeing the space in between us. Which is more direct?
If it was completely dark, I would not know there's a space.
No,
So I need the light.
With dark, you don't see it.
Sorry.
That's true. In dark, you don't see the composite space.
Yes.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That I agree. But my question is, like, if we are saying the blind people use the touch consciousness and infer,
Yeah.
then I'm also using
Yes,
the
of course. In the
eye
night, we can
consciousness.
infer. In the night, even with the people with eyesight, they can infer the space. They can infer, yes. In the night, we don't see it. We don't see the composite space. We infer in the night. And how do we do it? Right? Like this, like this, like this, like this. Okay, now there's a step. Right? We're inferring. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Okay, quick dedication prayer. 278. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful, generous, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhi too realize things as they are, also I dedicate these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Chanju Sanjo Remboje Agya Panam Ge Gyoroje Gyavai Nyamba Mebaya Kone Kondo Pevaraishu. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain to the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merits of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of Dharma, of teaching and realization. May I in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect within the 2 stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is loosely explained by the protector of both the Dharma and the beings of the snowland. With the lotus soul of the Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you that your wishes are fulfilled spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces, or humans or non-humans, who have by menace through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas, be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, by completing the qualities of the stages and the paths, may quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life. Okay. Mr. Sumati is talking about the sixth sense. Okay. In fact, I cannot deny, I personally, I cannot deny this. No, I can accept it very easily. Why I cannot deny this is that there are some people, they're blindfolded. You just make them take around like this, and then say you may do like this for like say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even half an hour, and then you put in one direction, say this is the east. Tell where is the east, the person will point to the correct direction. Right? So most 99% of people cannot be correct in identifying the proper direction with this. So what is this? Very likely it is sixth sense.
Could be magnetic issue.
Whatever is the case, okay. This could be the sixth sense, I have no clue, right? One. And then, so in most of the cases, this is missing. That's for sure. So in the night, we don't know where east, west, north, south. Right? Forget about east, west, north, south. We even don't know where the door is. Right? We have to go like this, which means that we're using the inference. But there are some people who have this gift. This gift is, maybe it's magnetic, right? What imprints? What imprints? Imprints to identify the direction correctly. Imprints through what? Past, we have already seen the east so many times, right?
Never practice like this.
Huh? We never practice. How should we practice it? This is east, this is east, this is what we practice? Huh?
For example, being blindfolded.
We'll make a practice, Krishna.
There are people who can hit targets blindfolded.
No, we are not. No, you can do it. Right? You can do it 100%. If you are someone with the first 2-3 attempts, if you cannot identify the location well, 100%, you do it 10,000 times in this life, you will not have it. So therefore, it is either something magnetic, or say the magnetic or the sixth sense. We never know. Yeah. In fact, some people can have, say, karmic clairvoyance. Karmic clairvoyance. Karmic clairvoyance can be varying kinds. Again, so clairvoyance to know the direction. Some to know, only when bad things are happening, or to some only when good things are happening. Like this, not to every day all events, right? So these things are there. We cannot deny existence of such things. At the same time, don't easily accept, right? Simply because something of this kind of, this person is, then you make the person God, you make the person Buddha. This is what happens to all the very remote villages. Somebody has a little extra thing, extra knowledge, then you make the person as a God. And so the person born with the twins, conjoined twins, conjoined twins, and the four legs and 4 arms, right? Made the Lakshmi. Disaster. And the moment the surgery is done, that person is no more Lakshmi. Lakshmi is like the worst of the person, right? Nobody even would say that now we have made a Lakshmi demon. Now we have become a demon. This is how the uneducated people's mind is. So therefore, education. If this is our mentality, when can we think of getting away from samsara altogether? When can we think of getting away from all these, the manifest acute pain, physical pains altogether, right? So therefore the wisdom is so important, so important. So not to trust things so easily, simply because one good thing is happening, then you over-exaggerate and see that this is like the whole God, like this. This is all where we're going to just, mistake. Okay, we'll stop here. Yeah.